Magic is in the air as Good Witch returns for season 7, and get ready for even more special powers, more love, and more adventures of Cassie and Sam, played by James Denton. Take a look.
Nick fell and scraped his knee.
So your worst fears were realized. Oh, I feel better already.
Do I interrupt your stories?
My stories are encouraging.
I'm getting there. Nick asked the teacher for some antiseptic and a Band-Aid.
You taught him well.
Mm-hmm. I taught him well.
Very intuitive, Dr. Radford.
Well, hang around with me for a while. Maybe it'll rub off on you.
And James is with us now. James, it's good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you believe it's season 7 already?
It's crazy. And with the other movies, it's the 14th year that Catherine Bell has been Good Witch. I mean, I've only been there for the 7 seasons, but yeah, it's been a fun run.
Yeah, and this is based on the movie that still ranks as one of Hallmark Channel's most successful movies ever, and this is one of the most successful shows it's ever had. So what do you think it is about Cassie and her story that has people hooked?
Well, I think you've nailed it. It's all about Catherine Bell. I mean, she's perfect in the role. People love the Cassie character. It's almost like Mayberry from the Andy Griffith show, where you go to Middleton, it's like everybody's nice. People treat each other well, and yet the writers in Hallmark does such a good job of still making it compelling, but people aren't horrible to each other. And that all revolves around Catherine Bell and that Cassie. I mean, she from the beginning, she just sort of nailed that character, and that like the aunt that you always wanted to go to for advice, or just the energy you want to be around. And I think the viewers pick that up.
So at the end of last season, Cassie and her cousins found these pouches of soil, which kind of ignites the new mystery, yes. Right? So, tell us about the journey this season.
Well, it's really fascinating. And the show, it changed a lot over the 7 seasons. And then when we started out, we had Bailey Madison and Respawn as our kids who were 13, 14. And now they've aged out and they've gone to college. So we wanted some more grown-up characters. And Kat Burrell, who's wonderful as Joy, the new witch. So that's a big addition, because then we have more love stories and more grown-up storylines. And then the 3 witches together gets really interesting. And so we've become kind of a mystery show. So it's fun because in this season, they lose their powers. And there's a fear that they might even die. They become really weak. And so there's a fear that, are they sick? What's going on?
Well, and there's also kind of this theme of self-exploration this season, right? And it's kind of like the things that happen to you and how they influence who you are, who you become. How are we going to see that in Sam's life this year?
Yeah, it's interesting. We've had another character a couple years ago, Scott Caballero plays Adam. He's the chaplain at the hospital where I'm the chief of staff. So Adam and Sam now have a really interesting relationship. That in an accident, Sam gets injured and can't operate. And then he has some more self-reflection, like, well, who am I if I'm not a surgeon? What's my identity?
Yeah, what was it like filming this year? Did you guys have to make any COVID protocols and all that?
It was crazy. We were tested 4 days a week. And we never had to shut down. We had one case where a crew member was sick and they caught it from the test and he never came to work. Wow. So we had no spread. We never shut down. We did 10 episodes without missing a day.
Does that affect kind of just your approach to things? Does it affect your acting? Does it affect the tone on set? How does that, because when you're an actor, you got to be in the right headspace and that, it matters.
That's a great question. You're exactly right. And it's a little different on Hallmark, just because, we're not doing a lot of heavy lifting. There's not a lot of big drama or tears or, so it's not quite as tough where you have to really get in a mindset like you're doing an intense movie or something, but it matters. For example, Toronto was shut down. So the other 6 years, it's a fun city to hang out in and go to restaurants. They would take me to work, bring me home, and I would sit in my box until I worked again. So it was like having a really nice jail cell. I sat in my condo. Sometimes one day I was off Friday and Monday one week. So they dropped me off Thursday. I just sat there till Tuesday because there's nowhere to go and nothing to do. So I think when you got to the set, you had a little more energy and you were happy to be around people. And that had an effect for sure. But also a perfect example is we had virtually no kissing this year because it was too risky.
Right.
So the few there are very selectively placed. And early on, Catherine and I had one scene, and we went to the producers and said, if Sam and Cassie don't kiss here, it's going to be a red flag. There's something wrong. Exactly. It's one of those moments where you just know that they would kiss. Any couple would. It was a really sweet moment. So we said, okay, we're okay with the risk. We both were tested this morning. And so they let us do it. But we had to actually ask for it because they were so worried about people getting sick. So So cut down on the kissing this year, which was a bummer. But that's something that audience may notice. That was one of the biggest differences on screen.
Well,
Yeah.
you can catch the new season of Good Witch Sundays at 9 p.m. on the Hallmark Channel. James, always so good to see you. Be well, and I can't wait to see you again in the studio.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, thank you so much.